Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. President Trump's tough stance on immigration now facing a new test.
A test stirring emotions and creating anger as a showdown plays out at the U.S.-Mexico border near San Diego.
For a month now, the president's been railing against a caravan of Central Americans who are seeking asylum here in the U.S.
Those migrants reaching the border over the weekend determined to have their cases heard. CNN's Caitlin Collins reports.
Dozens of migrants seeking asylum in the United States now awaiting processing at the California border, despite warnings that the immigration center there has reached its capacity. The migrants reaching the United States border after a month-long journey from Central America, some climbing the border fence and waving to supporters on the U.S. side of the beach.
We welcome the Central American refugees. You are welcome here.
But President Trump sending the opposite signal, instructing the Department of Homeland Security last week to turn the migrants away.
Are you watching that mess that's going on right now with the caravan coming up? Are you watching this? And our laws are so weak. They're so pathetic, given to us by Democrats. They're so pathetic.
The president repeatedly referencing the caravan during a freewheeling rally Saturday night as he criticized U.S. immigration laws.
We've gotten Mexico to work with us on stopping a lot of what's pouring in, but we have the worst laws anywhere in the world. We don't have borders. We're going to build the wall, and if we don't get border security, we'll have no choice. We'll close down the country.
President Trump also defending his former nominee for Veterans Affairs Secretary, Dr. Ronnie Jackson. Mr. Trump calling for the resignation of Democratic Senator Jon Tester after he put out a list of misconduct allegations from Jackson's current and former colleagues.
Well, I know things about Tester that I could say too. And if I said them, he'd never be elected again.
Jackson has denied any misconduct, and the White House has presented documents disputing claims of an alcohol-related car accident and improper pill distribution, but questions remain. Multiple outlets now reporting that Jackson won't return as the president's physician, but will continue to work in the White House medical unit. President Trump also taking aim at the White House Correspondents' Dinner after the comedian Michelle Wolf's controversial roast.
I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies. It's probably lies.
The president calling the event an embarrassment and Wolf's stand-up act, quote, filthy. The White House Correspondents Association expressing regret that Wolf's monologue was, quote, not in the spirit of the group's mission to celebrate the First Amendment.
As President Trump vents his anger with Senator Jon Tester over Admiral Jackson's withdrawal, the question is, how will the president's war of words play out on Montana's political landscape? Today I spoke with MTN political analyst Dr. David Parker, who says in the long run he believes the president's angry tweets could actually help Tester's re-election.
I saw this quote that said that the president is a bear and he's been poked by Jon Tester, and he should be afraid. Well, if we've seen in these elections over this past year, Jon Tester should not be afraid of President Trump at all, and he's hardly a bear. He's more like a chihuahua, full of sound and fury, signifying very little. I can't imagine that Montanans are going to look at Trump and look at his characterization of Tester and think that it's anywhere near accurate. So in this case, I don't think it matters much. And if anything, I might suggest that might actually help him. It might actually help rally his base. It might help among independents who don't really like the president. It might even help among some Republicans who never got on the Trump train to begin with.
Parker told me he believes that the Trump-Tester feud will lead to a big infusion now of new out-of-state spending in Montana's Senate race, particularly on television, both for and against Senator Tester.
And he says expect new polling in the race soon to see if the entire Ronnie Jackson matter moves the needle one way or the other.
3 Billings police officers disciplined for having sex on the job are arguing in new court documents that making their names public would affect their jobs and their reputations. The officers' conduct coming to light as part of an unrelated investigation. It indicates they had sex with the same woman either on city property or while on duty. City officials were set to disclose the officers' identities last week, but attorneys for the 3 officers obtained a temporary restraining order that bars the city from releasing their names. The officers' attorneys argue that the officers' right to privacy in this case outweighs the public's right to know, and that there was no harm to the public by the officers' actions and that no laws were broken. The documents filed today also shed new light on the incidents in question that date back to 2013, the most recent incident occurring just 2 years ago. KTVQ and the Billings Gazette have sued the city to force the release of the officers' names. Judge Michael Moses will hear those arguments at a hearing that is set for next Thursday, the 14th of May.
Higher education here in the Magic City welcomes a new leader with the big goals for MSU Billings and its next generations.
Q2's Dustin Kleeman sat down with new Chancellor Dr. Dan Edelman today to talk about his plans to turn the college into a Montana education destination. Dustin.
Good evening, Jay and Jeanelle. Current enrollment sits just above 4,400 students at both the university campus and City College. Edelman wants to reach 6,000 students within the next 5 years. That long-term goal will come with significant planning to achieve it, as well as a strengthened partnership with its big brother, Montana State University in Bozeman.
I plan to exploit the Bozeman campus and leverage their resources as much as I can. Dr. Cruzado's been a great partner so far since she appointed me to the position, and the board as well. She has empowered me to do what I need to do for this campus to succeed. She wants us to succeed. All of Bozeman does as well. I see a new era coming in where it's not an us versus them type of mentality where I've heard or read about. I see us working close together.
Edelman says there is a lot going on right now for the college and praised the instructors who teach there. A big part of the strategic planning will be how to develop workers for the future here in Billings. And that also means collaboration with the business community. Above all, Edelman says students are top priority even with the tight budget that the college has to navigate. Edelman also is a veteran and says another priority is finding ways to help other veterans further their education. Jay and Jeanelle.
All right. Thanks so much, Dustin.
Federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies from across Yellowstone County coming together now to step up their fight against violent crime in our region.
The Billings Police Department reports violent crime in Billings has increased 75% since 2010. Q2's Samantha Harrelson has more on the initiative. Sammy.
Jay and Jeanelle, as a response to the growing number of violent crimes in the city, county, and beyond, agencies are banding together as part of the reinvigorated Project Safe Neighborhoods initiative, which was recently reintroduced by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Here in Yellowstone County, it means specifically targeting the growing problem of violence by cracking down on enforcement and prosecution of 3 types of crimes: armed robbery, felons in possession of firearms, and crimes related to the trafficking and distribution of methamphetamine. The program is intended to be customized for each community, and in Yellowstone County, methamphetamine makes up a significant piece of the puzzle.
The meth that we are seeing is direct source from Mexico. It's virtually 100% pure. It's readily available, relatively inexpensive, and the demand is significant. Combine that with guns and dangerous offenders, and people get hurt, and the numbers show that.
Under Project Safe Neighborhoods in Yellowstone County, Montana, if you commit armed robbery, you push methamphetamine, or you commit a firearm offense, you will be arrested and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
The final piece of this initiative is prevention, including initiatives to support substance abuse prevention and treatment. Jay and Jeanelle.
All right, thanks so much, Sammy.
On to the weather scene tonight, Bob. Still a clash of seasons going on out there. What season are we in?
Well, right now we're supposed to be in springtime, but winter is making its showing its nasty head. Let me show you what we have up in the Beartooth. Look at all that white stuff. That is snow over at Red Lodge and over at Cook City. And down in the plains, it's mainly rain. You just got to get a little altitude where you get just cold enough air, and that rain starts changing over snow. That's what we have up there. Now take a look at this. You'll see that's not the only place. We do have some scattered snow showers in the southwestern corner of the state as well. also in Teton and Yellowstone parks. But now I want to show you, look what we have here. We have a winter storm warning tonight for the Beartooths, also the Bighorns and the Absaroka Mountains, anywhere from 4 to 14 inches, in some cases 8 to 14 inches of snow. And plus we have more rain and snow melt up around Lewis and Clark County and Marr County. Look for some more flooding in those areas as well. But our forecast is going to be cool for a couple of days, so the flooding should slow down a little bit. We'll have more on that coming your way in a few more minutes. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, Bob. Well, given the unpredictable nature of Montana's wildfire season, the state's tourism industry can never be certain. Will that challenge increase as experts predict hotter summers and bigger fires in the years to come? Well, as MTN's Dennis Bragg finds out, state tourism marketing is actually rolling with the punches and tweaking both the message and help for businesses.
It's the summer Seeley Lake would like to forget, with the biggest fire of the year burning 160,000 acres next door and other fires pumping in smoke. It was miserable in the Seeley Swan, and not just for tourism.
And it affected businesses that we didn't expect it to affect either. We had a quilter in Seeley Lake that's like, yeah, I had to get rid of a lot of my stock because it just smelled of smoke, and just all these impacts that are just compounded one on top of another. It affected not only the tourists but also Montanans spending money in their communities and neighboring communities as well, which is a big piece of Montana summer and Montana's summer spending.
Researchers estimate more than 800,000 visitors didn't come to Montana last year, with the state losing as much as $250 million. Yet there was a silver lining in all those clouds of smoke.
And though it seems like the perception was the whole state was on fire, we actually did see a growth in visitor spending by 11%. And we saw record-breaking years at visitation at Glacier National Park. So though I know there was acute local impacts, on a statewide level, we did really well, and I'm pleased to see that our tourism economy is so strong that we're able to actually sustain growth during a challenging season.
The question is, what's going to happen in 2018? Is the state's marketing going to take a hit in the long run? Maybe not.
We did see within our surveys that visitors are quite resilient, and like, yeah, it was bad this year, but I don't expect it to be bad next year. It's not going to really affect my decision making yet. The concern is if this becomes a year after year after year thing, how do we then adjust our marketing?
To me, it's about memory building and really capturing what we can experience together as a family.
That's where the age of big data makes a difference, and the Commerce Department is all about using the research and staying nimble.
We've switched more to digital behavioral demographic sort of targeting, which gives us the luxury that when something pops up like this, we can turn off certain ads, turn on different ones, target different people in different areas.
Additionally, the Commerce Department helped suffering communities last year, pumping in dollars for emergency marketing and business operations, which is now a permanent program.
For businesses that were at risk of going out of business or had gone out of business and were trying to get back into operation, we were able to provide a small grant of up to $5,000 to help with things such as inventory or getting payroll covered or getting Montanans back to work. There's a framework in place, this emergency support framework, and the goal is that it is seamless. In the event that there is a natural disaster, man-made disaster, we're there and we're able to assist right away.
While the 2017 numbers are worrisome, Pillay says Montana has a long history of adapting.
Well, whether it's a fire season or changes in gas prices or we have a low snow year, we are always dealing with variables that are out of our control. So no matter what the season is or what the variable that's being thrown at us, we're constantly monitoring that and seeing what the impact is on our audience and adjusting our strategies and our targeting accordingly.
On special assignment, Dennis Bragg, MTN News.
Thanks, Dennis. And despite the fires, Montana leads the way with its tourism marketing. In fact, Dennis tells us right now state officials are being consulted by other states like Washington.
Still to come in tonight's Q2 Rewind. We're going to hit the fast track and look back on an iconic Montana race that draws thousands to Billings every year.
Plus, later, you can make a difference in a child's future, all with the click of a button. Find out how.
And in sports tonight, surprise, a group of fourth graders from Butte hit the lanes. But you know what? They've got some competition. We'll find out who tagged along in just a bit.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.